Japan cultural differences. First, we're going to talk about business etiquette. You're going to want to dress professionally. You're also going to want to prepare for this meeting, so you're going to want to find the exact location where the meeting is held. You're going to want to have business cards presentable, and you're going to want to have multiple business cards. And when you have these business cards, you're going to want to grab the corners of the business card, and you're going to want to have your arms straight, fully extended, and you're going to kind of want to bow. You're going to have your name towards the recipient, and then when also in the meeting, you're going to want to make sure you are speaking loud, and you're going to want to make sure you enunciate everything, so that way there's no slang and they understand you completely. After the meeting, you are more than likely going to be eating and drinking, and you're going to want to know your alcohol limit. You're going to want to know if you have any food allergies and what dishes you can and cannot eat. Most places you're going to have to take off your shoes to eat and throughout the entire dining session. So you're going to want to wear appropriate socks because of you having to take off your shoes while dining. Also, whenever it comes to the meeting, you're not going to want to rush the other business, because the Japanese business like to wait and have time to discuss and finalize everything. Religion practices in Japan. Majority of people in Japan will practice Shintoism and Buddhism. However, some people will practice both. Japanese social customs. First, we're going to talk about politics. Most politicians are quick to resign due to the fact that they don't want to make very many mistakes. And if they do make a mistake, they'll be very abrupt and will actually step down. When it comes to social customs, they're very respectful and they like to keep a nice bubble. They don't like to invade your bubble, and they like to stand at an appropriate distance. They don't have very physical contact, and they don't like to have public displays of affection. They see it as rude or disrespectful. They like to pay a close attention to body language. If you are doing something that could show you're nervous or anything like that, they'll pick up on it very quick. When it comes to gender roles in Japan, they're actually ranked 101 in the Global Gender Gap Report. Women in the household are actually seen to be housewives. They heavily depend on their fathers as they're growing up, and then they heavily depend on their spouse as they grow as a family. And then, after the spouse has passed, usually the wife will depend on the children afterwards. In Japan, they don't let the women do whatever they want. They are usually strictly seen as housewives. Japanese housing. The Japanese housing is very abundant. They have too many houses, actually. They are actually giving them away, and a lot of houses have been abandoned. Abandoned from either landslides, or they're just old and decrepit and they need to be refurbished. Japan actually had to make a law for people to stop leaving their houses, because people were leaving their houses so frequently that they were just a bunch of houses just left abandoned. So they made a law so that way they'd have to demolish or refurbish them, and they could no longer leave them. Cuisine. Before you start eating, they're going to give you an ashabore, which is a hand towel, mainly used for your hands and will be used for the rest of the meal to help keep clean, such as wiping your mouth. Before you start eating, they're going to say "itadakimasu," which is "I gratefully receive." They say this before eating. It's part of their culture. While you're dining and you need to excuse yourself for a moment, you want to put your chopsticks on the hashioki, which is a chopstick rest, which also signifies that you're not done with your meal. To signify that you are done with your meal, you'll put the chopsticks horizontally onto your bowl to make sure that they know that you're done. And this concludes my Japan cultural differences.